Morning, all. All right, so news of the day video for all you fine people on the internet for your Sunday, April the 14th. Starting off with a fine that was handed out from last night's games. This is the only thing that's come out from the Department of Player Safety today. Kevin Shattenkirk fined for unsportsmanlike conduct in the game last night against Pittsburgh. I'm guessing it was when he was from the bench, he was sticking another player who was on the ice. You can't do that. So it's a fine. Nothing big came of it. It was not a big deal. Just letting the player know, okay, we saw that. You can't do that. Next time out, it might be a suspension. So, fine for Shattenkirk, and no, it's not a ton of money. That's why I don't put the money amounts on the board anymore. Alex Barwello releases a statement through the team's social media, through the formerly known as Twitter. And basically, it's just that he can't say very much right now. The expectation is the sale's going through on the 17th or the 18th. So there's some T's that need to be crossed, I's that need to be dotted, but this is basically a done deal. The interesting thing to me, and I mean, we're gonna have to do another, deep dive into the Coyotes at some point as we get ready for them to go to Utah. But it really seems like any trust that the fans had with ownership is gone, and so in the event that the NHL does decide, hey, we're gonna give Arizona a real and proper shot with a real building and everything, I don't know if he's going to be the owner that's deciding that. So we'll see, right? We'll see what happens there. Frank Nazar has signed his entry-level contract. That took place yesterday, but of course, wall-to-wall hockey yesterday and everything. The number 13 pick in 2022 joins the team immediately, so it is a good chance for Chicago fans to see a little bit more of their future. And so there are some exciting young players. Of course, they're going to get a really good draft pick this year as well. I would think has to be top five, right? So in almost any draft, a top five draft pick is pretty good, no matter which one you're getting. And so Nazar coming in is just another sign that, hey, this Chicago rebuild is starting to net some results. In today's action, there's a couple clinching situations, although the teams that are playing are not the ones that are doing the clinching. The New York Rangers can clinch the Metro Division in the instance that the Canes lose in regulation against Chicago, which sounds crazy, but at this time of year, you can sometimes see that. It's possible the Canes rest some players. Maybe they're taking it easy out there, and Chicago has won their share of games over the last month. So we'll see what happens there. The Winnipeg Jets clinch home ice against the Colorado Avalanche in the first round. That's what we're waiting to see. Who's going to be second? Who's going to be third in the division? In the instance that the Avs lose in regulation versus the Vegas Golden Knights today, which is possible. That's absolutely possible. So for the Colorado Avalanche, they need to win that game unless they're not worried about starting the playoffs on the road. It will be interesting to see how that all turns out because while I really like the Avs in general, the fact that they're putting themselves down as low as third in the division and might have to be the road team for the first two rounds, we'll see how that turns out for them. Again, I think Colorado's going to be a tough out whether they're starting on the road or at home. But for the Jets, maybe having home ice advantage will help. I know Jets fans will also point to the fact they owned them in the regular season, but man, once you get into a best of seven series, things can change quickly. So we'll see if the Avs lose in regulation today, and then we can really start to get into the nuts and bolts of that matchup between Winnipeg and Colorado. I will be doing matchups, like the videos previewing the matchups, once we know for certain who's against one another, plus once both teams have played 82 games. I want to make sure the stats are complete. All right. Connor McDavid missed his third straight game last night. The Oilers have 3 left before the playoffs. Apparently, the team has said he will be ready for the playoffs, and they're leaving it up to him as to whether or not he's going to play this coming week. It definitely seems like McDavid, while they're saying it's just a nagging, it's not a big deal. I'm starting to wonder if it is, because this is he's been out for a week. He might be out for another week. And really, in all honesty, you can call it day to day, but if a guy's out for a couple of weeks down the stretch, that has to be seen as being a substantial injury. And so while he's going to be ready for the playoffs, and last night after the game was done, the team was kind of downplaying that they lost to Vancouver and probably won't win the division. I've also seen they'd probably prefer to play LA in the first round rather than play Nashville anyways, which makes some sense. Vancouver would probably rather play Nashville than LA, again, given regular season results and all that. But I do wonder, how badly hurt is McDavid actually? and what kind of shape is he going to be in once we get to the playoffs. It also means his bid for 100 assists may very well just come up short, because if he doesn't play the rest of the regular season, well, he ends up at 99. But I don't think he's necessarily going to care about that. So, yeah, we'll see if he plays in the next 3 games. Nick Jensen, so it was a scary incident in last night's game for the Capitals. He did apparently avoid going to the hospital. Left with his family and walked out. He was walking on his own and everything. He's also at the practice facility today, so he's there. He's not going to play the final 2 games, which is not a surprise. I honestly would be very surprised if it's not a concussion. But the fact that he's up and around and he's okay from that perspective, that's great news for the Washington Capitals and of course for Jensen and his family. Because it was scary. He was out on the ice last night for at least a few moments there, and they definitely sprang to his defense very, very quickly. Both teammates and then the medical staff got him off the ice, and so it's good to see that he's looking like he's going to make a full recovery. We'll see, should the Caps make the playoffs, if he'll play in round 1. But yeah, the team was pretty happy with how they responded to it, and obviously very happy that Jensen is okay. So with last night's results, the San Jose Sharks have now guaranteed they have the best odds of winning the draft lottery. If you're a Sharks fan, you're probably thinking, well, great. But the thing with that is that it also means that the worst that you can draft is third. So while it's not considered to be an overly deep draft, again, compared to some of the other ones, drafting third isn't too bad. And if they do win the draft lottery and draft first, I would be shocked if it wasn't Macklin Celebrini, who they were drafting first overall. But there are others. There are other players, too, who are considered to be pretty good in this draft. As we get closer to the draft, I'll start doing prospect videos and looking at likely first-round draft picks in this year's draft. But San Jose is going to get a good pick. They're going to get a good pick with that guaranteed top 3 spot. And, of course, there's other draft picks they've acquired as well over the years that they're going to be cashing in at the draft in June. It's June 27th, 28th, somewhere around there. Anyways, I'll figure it out before we get to the actual draft. It'd be silly if I had like a draft live stream and I was wrong. The draft was 3 days before. But at any rate, yeah, the Sharks have the best odds, and I do kind of hope they win it. I think it'd be nice to see them win a draft lottery. That being said, we shall see. So the chase for 70 in Toronto, Sheldon Keefe admitting that it's been a major distraction. One thing that I've noticed is, yeah, they're feeding him the puck. They're trying to get him to 70. That's clearly been a thing. It's reminiscent to me of a few years back when it felt like they were always trying to set up Ovechkin in Washington, where it felt like they were doing it to a fault. Where maybe don't pass it there this time. Maybe that wasn't the best thing to do, but in this case, it's happening with Matthews. He does have 69 goals. It also means you can't sit him and rest him either. Keefe likes to rest guys for those last couple of games and make sure everybody's rested up for the playoffs. I've often wondered, does that make a huge difference? Is it kind of overblown? Would it matter if a guy plays the full 82 games rather than playing 80 and then resting for the last 2? But at any rate, yeah, Matthews won't be coming out of the lineup while he's sitting on the cusp of 70 goals. And that would be quite the territory for him to be in. Definitely video worthy to look at seasons where players had 70 or more goals. And then we can look at whether or not those teams have had playoff success as well. Matt Murray last night played for the Toronto Marlies. He's been down for a conditioning stint. He, of course, has been rehabilitating for over a full year, really. It's his first game since April 2nd of last year. So a year and a couple of weeks in between starts for Matt Murray. All the best to him and his continued recovery. He is an unrestricted free agent this summer. So we'll see what happens with Matt Murray this summer. I would think that it wouldn't be an NHL contract he might get. Maybe he gets an AHL contract. Maybe the Marlies keep him around. But yeah, Matt Murray, hopefully he makes a 100% recovery and ends up back in the National Hockey League. He was a pretty promising young goaltender that won back-to-back Stanley Cups as a rookie for the Pittsburgh Penguins, and injuries have definitely hurt his development and hurt his ability to be a starter in the NHL. So if this rehab process works out, maybe he ends up back in the NHL. But either way, all the best to him in his continued recovery. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe in the event you have not done so already. Thank you guys so much for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.